समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या समझ में नहीं आया?
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
This Dashera is the 100th anniversary of the founding of RSS or the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. RSS was founded on Dashera Day in 1925. That's why the 100th anniversary, and we saw the important speech by RSS chief or Sir Sangh Chalak as he's called, Mohan Bhagwat. However, that's not what I'm talking about today. What I'm talking about is some personal experiences and also what I might call as the RSS's twin contribution to my life in very early childhood, between the age of 5 and 8. That is something that I've written about in the past. That is the reason we are calling this as one more episode in our occasional series, First Person, Second Draft. First person, simply because it's a story that comes out of my experiences, something that I've seen over time. And second draft, because it's something that I might have written about or I would have written about in the past. And now, because there is new knowledge, because the situation has changed, that gives me the opportunity to give you a second draft. That's why first person, second draft. So this one comes, the first draft had come in 2015, shortly after Mr. Modi had taken over as Prime Minister. I had written a piece talking about my very early childhood experience in an RSS school, in a Saraswati Shishu Mandir. Then 3 years later, when Pranab Mukherjee visited, ex-president now, he visited the RSS, and it was seen as Pranab Mukherjee giving it big institutional and political legitimacy, having been a congressman all his life. I had updated it, and now with the 100th anniversary of the RSS, with Mohan Bhagwat coming to Delhi, holding three-day events where he talks every day, answers questions. Also for us having seen a little bit, I won't say a setback, but a little bit of a breakdown or a little bit of distancing between the BJP and the RSS during the 2024 elections, and the repair work afterwards. This justifies an episode of First Person, Second Draft. Now, Pranab Mukherjee made history as no other ex-president had done by simply accepting the invitation from the RSS to speak at their headquarters. He at least had the choice of saying yes or no to supping with the RSS, or in more committed secular speak, touching the untouchable. What would one have done if he had no choice? As I did not at the age of 5. Okay, it was some time back in 1962, 63 years back. Pranab Da had made a calculated move which the Congress party he knew will see as a misdemeanor. That gave me the perfect excuse or the newspeg, as we call in our language, to make a belated admission, flaunt a fact from today, from 63 years ago. You can choose the one you prefer depending on what your leanings are, and then disclose a double favor granted to me by the RSS that my parents gratefully accepted then. I have a faded group photo from my class 5 at school in 1965. Please see it on your screen. The school was a Saraswati Shishu Mandir, part of a chain of junior schools run across the country by the RSS alongside the Vidya Mandirs for seniors. Let me list the two favors conferred on me by the RSS. The first was in a tiny town called Palwal. In this tiny town called Palwal in Haryana, it's about 60 kilometers on the way to Agra from Delhi on the Grand Trunk Road, which in 1962-63 was just a large village with one distant, dusty and bug-infested and rat-infested cinema hall. We saw Dosti, Hakikat and Sangam in that cinema hall. A place so small it was, a large peepal tree could be the landmark for the visitors coming to our home. My father, who worked for Punjab government's cooperatives department and a usual suspect for punishment postings, was sent there, a place that had no school, no hospital of any kind, except maybe a madrasa on the outskirts, and no MBBS doctor except some missionary doctor who visited once in a while next to the camp as the temporary settlement for the refugees from the erstwhile West Pakistan was called. Because there was no hospital of any kind to begin with, my mother had to live with her father's family when she was expecting me, and that's how I was born in Old Delhi. In Old Delhi's what is called as Sucheta Kriplani Hospital, but used to be called, I think, Baird Hospital, popularly known as, even now, if you ask a rickshawala there or auto wala there, tell them Machli Wala Hospital, they will take you there. That's because the hospital had a tiny fish pond, tiny fish pond, where they reared colorful fish in the courtyard. Because there was no school in Palwal then, as I grew up a little bit, my mother again had to live in Delhi with her father's family, so I could at least attend kindergarten. So by setting up a school in Palwal later, the RSS brought a family together, our family of 3 then. One Saturday, my father came to Delhi on his weekend commute for family time and brought the news. A school had opened in Palwal, he said, some school. So it was time we moved there as well. This was the Saraswati Shishu Mandir up to class 5. It remained Palwal's only school for some time, so this was the first favor the RSS did to me. It united the family of 3 then, our family of 3 then. The first MBBS doctor coming into Palwal, by the way, took a further 2 years. The second favor, they were never resentful of the fact that although I was just 5 yet, I had come with an English medium sheen, having started out at a proper kindergarten. In fact, they appreciated and rewarded me with 2 double promotions, class 1 to 3, and then from 3 to 5. The RSS, therefore, was not only my teacher those 3 crucial years, it also added 2 years to my academic life, enabling me to graduate from college when I wasn't even 18. That it gave me 2 double promotions is a lesser fact though. Of much greater significance was the surprising welcome given their famed pro-Hindi, Sanskrit and anti-English bias towards my convented, as the Delhi matrimonial columns used to say, beginnings. This was the most fascinating thing. There was resentment and suspicion for English and yet admiration for it. Schools in Punjab, Palwal was in Punjab then and became a part of Haryana in 1966 when the state split. The schools in Punjab or Haryana did not begin to teach English alphabet until class 6, and yet there was a reward for even the basic knowledge of Angrezi. There was plenty of Hindi and Sanskrit in the school though. The school prayer was chaste Saraswati Vandana, even if it was brutalized in Punjabi pronunciation. Try and get a true Punjabi or Haryanvi to say, Ya Brahma Chut Shankara Prabhriti Bihi Devai Sada Pujita. It was very tough then. But we tried. We tried and sniggered on the side because none of us quite knew the meaning. Not that it would have persuaded us to take it any more seriously. We were 6, 7 years old, 5, 6, 7 years old. The headmaster's pravachan, discourse that followed was more testing though. Even at that tender, innocent age, there was something salacious about being told that it was evil to eat eggs, as it was a mix of Raj, which is Sanskrit for ovam, and Virya, semen. I am not sure anybody was particularly impressed by that. We even continued to rear a dozen hens and a couple of roosters in our tiny semi-pakka home, though for just the eggs, not meat. My parents never ate eggs or meat anyway. Attendance at the Shakha was not compulsory, but achieved through encouragement. It was held right across our home where we lived, near the peepal tree, so many of us just sat to watch and listen, not old enough to be bought our khaki shorts, belt and sticks. And in any case, we were too young to join the Shakha or to be asked to join the Shakha. Nobody complained either, for generally these Swayam Sevaks were laughed at as caricatures. and there were dozens of jokes about them that I haven't forgotten, which aren't polite enough to be put in print or in audio. Shakhas involved mock battles between sher, lions, and bakri, goats, with a handful of fearless lions always decimating the more numerous deceitful goats. You can guess which animals symbolized the Hindus and which the Muslims. There were no sports except kho-kho, or what you might call tag in English, which we boys sneered at as a girl's sport. Then followed the most interesting part, storytelling, and we waited for it. I recall many, but the most repeated one was about Hakikat Rai, a young boy who preferred to sacrifice his head rather than accept a Muslim tyrant's demand that he shave his tuft or chutiya or take off his sacred thread. There were many stories also of Guru Gobind Singh and his son's sacrifice, of Lala Lajpat Rai, Bhagat Singh, and Savarkar, and their role in the freedom movement. Gandhi, Nehru, and most other people were excluded, except to say that they allowed India to be partitioned despite Sardar Patel. Nehru was reviled as Macaulay's favourite son, but his successor, Lal Bahadur Shastri, was quickly co-opted, particularly with the War of 1965. That was the period. He was also projected as a humble vegetarian, which Shastri was by preference, despite being a Kayast, and Kayasts usually are meat-eating. मूंग की दाल खाने वाले शास्त्री जी ने शराबी कबाबी अयूब को मात दी. The lentil-eating Shastri ji defeated the kebab-eating, hard-drinking Ayub. That was the line. That is what we were told. The music teacher composed a hilarious syapa, which is the loud Punjabi ritual where people, mostly women, mourners, beat their breasts, sing praises of the departed, and lament the loss. The lines remain imprinted on my mind. किथे गए सीटो सेंटो, मर गए चीनी यार, हाय मैं की करा, मेरे टैंक होए बीमार, हाय मैं की करा, like this. Proper mourning song. This was mock wailing for Seato and Cento, the US-led defense alliances that Pakistan had joined in the 50s, for the Chinese who failed to help the Pakistanis, and for the patent tanks which did not perform. The school run by the RSS even bussed us all to Delhi one day in the very early winter of 1965 to meet the Prime Minister Shastri then. With the national mood still warlike, my mother gave me half a dozen pajamas she had stitched for wounded Jawans and a bag of homegrown spinach for Shastri ji. Remember, these were famine years when the Prime Minister was asking us to miss a meal every week and grow kitchen gardens. Shastri ji accepted both the gifts from my mother with a smile and a pat on my cheek. See some of those pictures. Much is known about the RSS and its thinking, but I will highlight 3 things from experience. 1, our teaching involved a heavy emphasis on the freedom movement without mentioning any of its heroes other than the revolutionaries. Bhagat Singh, Chandrasekhar Azad, Savarkar, and Netaji. It was evident that the RSS did not have many of its own freedom fighters, but was systematically co-opting the revolutionaries. Music classes were filled with the notes of patriotic songs based on what was popular then, popular film tunes then. Manna Dey's immortal Nirbal se ladai balwan ki, ye kahani hai diye ki aur tufan ki, loosely translated as this is a ballad for the struggle of the feeble against the sturdy, the lamp against the tempest. This was transformed into England se ladai Hindustan ki, ye kahani hai amar balidan ki. Again loosely translated, this is a ballad of India's struggle against England, of immortal sacrifice. And the rest of the stanza spoke of Indian sacrifice and British perfidy and loot. ऐसा चक्कर चलाया किया धन का सफाया, इंग्लैंड का खजाना भरने लगा, तभी भारत अभागा अपनी नींद से जागा, आई याद उसे भी निज शान की. Briefly translated, it goes, Britain looted India's wealth to fill its own treasury and coffers, and finally the unfortunate Indians woke up to fight back. No, the Congress had nothing to do with this awakening, only the revolutionaries. 2, while there was condemnation of the English and the Videshis, The only ones really feared and disliked were the Muslims. There were stories of awful atrocities during partition, threats in Kashmir, and the Yudh Viram Rekha, or the ceasefire line as it was then called, pre-1971, LOC now, end of the excesses of the Muslim rulers over Hindus and Sikhs. Aurangzeb was on the top of the demonology. One of the points made repeatedly being that he beheaded the 9th Sikh Guru, Tegh Bahadur. I was surprised by the absent reference to Aurangzeb's grandfather Jahangir, who wasn't such a nice guy either, like all medieval rulers all over the world, and who had the 5th Sikh Guru, Arjun Dev, killed through slow torture, scalding him on hot sheets and pouring hot sand over his body. Why Aurangzeb was demonized for the same crime and Jahangir was not quite so? I've been thinking, and the penny dropped as the arrival of the RSS for one of its coordination meetings with the government and the 50th anniversary of the 1965 war, that was in 2015, that took my memory back to my Shishu Mandir days. Aurangzeb killed the 9th Sikh Guru because he had come to him pleading that he stop the forced conversion of Kashmiri Hindus to Islam. The 5th Guru, on the other hand, had refused to take out from the Guru Granth Sahib verses he had incorporated from the Holy Quran. For the devout Muslims, that was seen as apostasy. You know the difference now between one sacrifice for the Hindu cause and the others for his insistence of incorporating wisdom from Islam into his own spiritual worldview. And the third flowed almost naturally from it, the fear and loathing of Pakistan, and more importantly, the terminal linkage of the Indian Muslim with that nation. The classical RSS view of the Indian Muslim was as a permanent 5th column. By now, there is an acceptance of the inevitability of India having a large population, but the thinking in the wider circle is still that the Muslim minority has to be persuaded to live by our rules. And yet, as a strange blend of deep suspicion and great admiration that attaches to convent education, there is even greater admiration for the Muslim who passes the test of patriotism and Indianness. That's why Kalam, not just for the missiles he made, but for his love of the shlokas and the Veena, becomes such a great hero and the perfect antidote to Aurangzeb or Havaldar Abdul Hamid, the greatest 1965 war hero. Lawyer politician Muhammad Karimji Chagla, who held multiple ministries in Congress cabinets, he was also one of those. Now we have seen over the past many years Mohan Bhagwat gradually and quite determinedly trying to reset this line, trying to correct this line. He's the one who initially ruffled some conservative feathers within his own party by saying that everybody who lives in India, irrespective of their religion, comes from the same DNA. And increasingly and gradually, quite deliberately, he's tried to reduce that division. In fact, even at his latest speeches, he's been saying that yes, in India, the problem now is no longer that population growth rate is going up. The problem is that population growth rate is not going up. People should produce 3 children. And in those speeches, he's also started saying that it's not correct to say that one community is producing a lot more children. In fact, at his speeches in Delhi, he said that might have been the case earlier, or that was the case earlier, but Hindu birth rates declined first, and now Muslim birth rates have started declining as well. And that's the reason he wants to take away India from the mindset of hum do hamare do into hum do hamare teen. That's a big change that he has made. And once again, that singling out of Muslims for producing too many babies is something that he has moved away from. That is part of our second draft. Vajpayee and Advani were rare RSS leaders to have outgrown this organizational mindset much earlier, though to varying degrees, while remaining loyal to the RSS. That is why under them the BJP attracted and embraced so much non-RSS talent. Just one thing, Sushma Swaraj, Arun Jaitley, Arun Shourie, Yashwant Sinha, Rangarajan Kumara Mangalam, and many more. Advani also has the intellect to understand that this ideology won't change. His formulation that the key to improving Hindu-Muslim relations in India is to normalize India-Pakistan ties is arguable, also sound, but it got him into trouble. The RSS attacked him as a Jainite come lately. Secularists did not appreciate or understand the complexity either. The current lot of BJP leaders are all Swayamsevaks and pupils of the Shishu Mandir Vidya Bharati system at heart. That is why the clergy of Nagpur can establish itself in Delhi like the supreme teacher. Extra constitutional influence on the BJP, just like the National Advisory Council was to the Congress. The difference being that in this case, the Prime Minister has got elected on his own strength, and he is a leader in his own right. Yet, see how RSS is consulted on all key decisions. It was consulted on Air India's sale. It intervened on the Flipkart, Walmart deal. Initially, we believed that Modi, being a loyal Swayamsevak but also a strong leader in his own right, will not allow his authority to be suborned by the Sangathan. That if he is true to his political character, he will assert himself. He had done some of that in Gujarat. It is tough to predict. It was always tough to predict Guru-Shishya fighting, and if they do, we thought it will be a hell of a fight. In the first draft, I had written that it will be tough to predict Guru-Shishya fighting, and if they do, it will be a hell of a fight. That's what I had said. It seems now that they did get close to a fight, or maybe if not a fight, to some kind of an estrangement, or maybe not even that, a distancing at least in the run-up to the 2024 elections. That is where correction has been on subsequently. 11 years on, the Modi government is as much an RSS government as Vajpayee's wasn't. That's why the talk of the RSS desperately quoting Pranab Mukherjee for legitimacy in 2018, we said, is pompous nonsense. The country's ruling establishment does not need legitimacy from individuals. That has been put to test in 2019. It was put to a different kind of test in 2024. And as a consequence of this test, you've seen evolution. You've seen evolution on the part of the RSS, and that's what Mohan Bhagwat has been doing, including on his 100th anniversary or centenary speech this Dussehra, and also at his speeches in Delhi and his statements preceding that. He's been trying to mainstream the RSS. He's been trying to go out, embrace the minorities. He's been trying to correct the historic line of the RSS. In one of his speeches in Delhi in 2018, he said some of the things that Golwalkar might have said about the Muslims may not be relevant now because things are said in the context of the times and they have to be read in the context of these times now. So everything that was said in the past does not apply like scripture. So he's been making those wide corrections. At the same time, the BJP under Narendra Modi in the run-up to 2024 was probably overconfident, and that's how that statement about its ability to stand on its own feet came out. And once it was reduced to 240, then an immediate truce and course correction was called. That's why right now the party and the Sangathan or its teacher or its guru now seem closer than ever before.